Why do you think Royce Gracie never rematched you?
In my final 5 years, I was very actively trying to get one more match with Ken Shamrock, Mark Coleman, Royce Gracie. I have very few losses, and I wanted to have one more match with the three of them, and to be drug tested on top of that, because I want people to know that Dan Severn will finish out his career chemical free, and but it really those three matches never materialized. But at the same token, going back to the farm boy analogy, Royce's oldest brother, Horian, who Art Davey brought on as his business partner. Again, Art, he's the businessman, but he brought on Horian Gracie to be the matchmaker. And as the old farm boy analogy goes, you don't put a fox inside the hen house, because are you bringing on all the best competitors? Because in the beginning there, I'll just be saying that every time that Royce would win, it was a declaration that that Gracie Jiu-Jitsu beats Taekwondo. Gracie Jiu-Jitsu beats Karate. Gracie Jiu-Jitsu beats this, because they were using the UFC like an info commercial, the promotion of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, and it worked. So many people, I forget what it cost you just to be able to put that little Gracie Jiu-Jitsu banner up on your window. You had to pay something almost like on a monthly basis, but then you as an instructor had to be to a certain level. So you, on the cost of your dime, you had to fly over to Torrance, California, and you had to, pay for private lessons on top of the normal classes. It was, from a business perspective, it was genius about doing it. These were they're all legit matches, but it's easy to bring in opponents that would be easier to be defeated, though, too.
What do you think you would have done different in a rematch?
Destroyed them.
I believe so too.
Yeah, I would tell people that again. I tried very hard in my final few years to get a rematch, and there was even I had a match set up with Ken Shamrock at one point, and basically 10 days before. Well, no, he actually had bailed out before that. It was coming down to the wire that this organization, and I had put in my longest training camp at that point. I literally had trained for 4 months. Eric, when I told you before, I did 2 training camps. In a 20-year career, I did 2 training camps. Once for 32 days, once for 35 days. That's it. In my whole UFC career. And now this is going to be, then I had a little bit of a sabbatical right there. It's like, okay, now, because I retired, but I simply made that comment that I retired. Sorry about that. I retired with a clause. I said, I'm going to retire now, but if one of these 3 men came out of retirement, I would seriously contemplate coming back out of retirement. It just all depends on how old am I at that time, how fat. Can I get myself back into any kind of shape? Well, this happened just within a few years after my retirement, and for a possible rematch with Ken. But like I said, Ken pulled out because he had this opportunity now to get a match with Royce. And I had already put in the time. I was pissed. To say I was pissed is an understatement. But then Scott Coker, he was the promoter of this other organization. I can't remember what the name was. Yep. And I had a conversation with Scott, and I said, Scott, what about bringing me on in to be a special play-by-play color commentator? And because I have history with both these guys, and he basically kind of poo-pooed out to it, like it didn't really interest him much. I said, well, what about if I take on the winner of the 2 right there? And then he's still kind of poo-pooing onto it. He's like, oh my, because I don't think these legend matches really. Not sure if they'll be viable, if they'll again, I don't know what. There's a lot of negativity coming from him on this. I go, And finally, I go, Scott, I says, I go, this is about the best deal I can offer you. I'll give you a good old-fashioned Kmart 2-for-1 special. I'll fight them both in the same night. I said, but they don't know who goes first. At the night of the show, you bring them both out there to the cage, flip a coin, and you find out what sorry soul has to go first. I said, because I'm fresh as a daisy, and I'm going to destroy. I told him, I said, give me a few matches in between. Let me start the show and let me end the show. And I go and give me those few matches in between so I can get my recovery. And if I don't beat them both in the same night, you owe me nothing. And he turned it down.
Better deal than that.
He turned it down. So again, I always tell people, it's kind of like going, was I crazy for even making that offer? Well, it might have been a little bit crazy for doing that, but at the same token, I was ready. Like I said, I never put in a 4-month training camp for anybody. And when Ken pulled out, to say that I was pissed at Ken is an understatement as to how bad I was at Ken. I'll say that, as time passes on, it's like, so I get along just fine with Ken. I get along with anyone. But the reality is, my God, I know what I did as a natural athlete, and I call a spade at times. I go, no, he was chemically induced, and that's probably how he won some of his matches by doing that. I did mine on all natural ability, and I'll simply say that, and only doing 2 training camps in a 20-year career. Just think if I really applied myself, I might have achieved something.
Yeah, I know, there's water under the bridge with Ken, and he's been on you and Don's show, and you talk.
Life goes on, and